topic. There's another hot topic which you can't get away from in the AI sphere, and that is these data centers. And you hear all these horrific stories. I don't even know how many of them are true. I just recently saw one that there's 75 data centers in Tucson alone, or Phoenix. Which I'm like, that's a hot place. Why would you build a data center there? Or you've got this one Canadian guy from Shark Tank who wants to build a huge data center the size of, I don't know, Rhode Island or something in Utah. And then you hear all these terrible stories about energy consumption, water consumption, pollution, heat, I don't know, the equivalent of, I don't know how many atomic bombs per day in heat, whatever that, I think it sounds kind of polemic, but that's the kind of stuff that you hear. And this is going to be a little bit outside of out of your primary function, but I'm sure you've been following it with interest as well. PMI, and I've had Lucila Dotto on the show as well. She's a great person just like you in America. And I love the fact that PMI has committed itself to the concept of sustainability, because I think those are one of the things that all companies kind of commit to, but a lot of them pay lip service. I think often if you look at who's responsible for ESG or CSR, it's a lawyer. And I'm like, why is it a lawyer? Or a marketing person? I'm like, even worse. And that comes from our marketing person, right? But I love the fact that PMI is always been non-political, but I'm proud of it that it takes a stance and says, you know what, sustainability is important. So these are two topics that we've got going on in AI. What's your stance on this whole energy consumption deal? Is it just a question of where we are in the technology that we're not ready to solve those problems yet? Where do you think we're going to be going with that? Because doesn't that endanger AI as well? I often feel that, maybe in 5-7 years' time, when a lot of the investors say, hey, I want my money back, I think a lot of these AI initiatives are going to be falling to the wayside, not because they're not viable functionally, but because they're not viably financially. What's your take on that?
I think that it's a wait and see, right? I mean, you don't know what 5 to 7 years is going to look like, how we're going to become more efficient and how we're going to optimize how we use the different technology. When it comes to data centers in particular, right? So again, I'll break this down into a few different parts of your question. So one was around data centers. One thing that I love about PMI is that we're a global organization. That means we have 304 chapters across the globe. We have different, regions that are represented. And I get the opportunity to travel to many of these and get to speak to people firsthand. In Europe, for example, AI sovereignty is a really hot topic right now, right? You can't have AI sovereignty unless you have your data stored physically on your soil.
Yeah, that's a hot topic in Europe. We're way behind the game there, yeah.
But you need data centers to do that. And when you think about Europe, it isn't one cohesive continent. It's many countries that make up a continent. So we are going to need that now in every single location so that your data is stored on soil. You have talent on soil, right? That is what AI sovereignty is all about. So that's one side of things, right? So now we're going, well, we want AI sovereignty and we want that for a number of different reasons. Okay, fine. You have to have data centers. You cannot get around that. Then on the other hand, we have so many data centers are being built, right? NIMBY, not in my backyard. People don't want it in their different locations, and they don't want it in their backyard. They don't want it near them. But we understand that we need it. And then there's cost implications to that as well, because we need to have these data centers. You need to fund these data centers. You need to fund the data, right? And the energy that's being used. So we have that on the other hand. At some point, these are going to equalize out and we're going to figure out, well, what does this really mean? We're going to have laws and regulations around this. So countries are going to say, okay, fine. If it's stored in this location, we feel comfortable, or in this location, we feel comfortable. Or maybe they're going to say it has to be on our soil. This is something that still needs to play out, and I have no idea where that's going to go because, unfortunately, when I look at my crystal ball, it doesn't tell me. So those are the two different sides that we have to play out. When it comes to sustainability, it's funny. I never get asked this question. So you're one of the very few people that have actually
son of a gun, sorry.
And I think that this also has to do with more of your European focus. Now, yes, are other people thinking about it? Of course they are. And when you brought that up earlier in the speeches, right, from universities, how students were upset about this. Some of it is because they are upset about the impact that it has on the environment. Some of them are upset about the impact that it has on their employment, right?
Yes,
their
that's a huge issue.
Employment. And some of them are upset about some of these large organizations, right? You know, kind of this money grab, and they don't feel good, right? They're not trusting those organizations. So there's a number of different things when it comes to that. But what I will say is that as AI scales, PMI's focus is to help organizations move from ambition to disciplined execution. So this is embedding sustainability, responsibility, governance, and measurable impact into AI initiatives from the start, rather than treating them as separate or after the fact considerations. So with CPMAI, for example, our trustworthy AI framework is embedded throughout the entire process. It is not something that you just bolt on at the end and go, oh, shoot, we got to think about trustworthy AI. Let's just add it at the end. No, it's something that you think about in every single phase. And as you're doing that, you're asking the right questions, right? You're thinking about what are the impacts of this? What are the long-term implications of this? How are we going to have, a sustainable project as well? And so I think that from that perspective, it's really important to be thinking about it holistically rather than like as one-off topics. And of course, there's going to be a lot of geopolitical issues that are impacting some of this. Things can change. Regulations that happen within countries or within regions are also going to have an impact on that. So I can't say what the long-term effects are going to be, but people are thinking about it and discussing it, which is